Well, we left Bar Harbor, Maine, and we were headed to Stowe, Vermont. So this next leg of the journey really is more about the journey than it is about the destination. We were really looking forward to getting inland in Maine, away from the coast and all of the tourist things that we had seen, and really see the countryside. So I had a plan, and my plan was that I could take this big giant map, and I made a pointer, and I thought I could point the route all the way from Maine over to Vermont. But as you can see, the map's kind of, well, it's a big map, but the map segment of Maine through New Hampshire and Vermont, not very big. So what we're going to have to resort to is the old-fashioned method, and that is to draw you a picture. We left Bar Harbor, Maine on Memorial Day. Let's just say we got stuck or stopped in a few parades on the way because it's all, through small towns, and it wove all the way through the mountains. After we got off of the main route of the interstate, we came across Highway 2. We were pretty excited about going the back roads, what I call the back roads, over to Vermont. It's about a 6.5-hour drive. We were really excited to be off the coastal part of Maine and into the inland, and a couple of interesting things that we saw. Skowhegan, if I can pronounce that right, I'm not sure. Skowhegan. Anyway, they had this giant Indian there, and I thought maybe they were trying to create a tourist attraction like the Paul Bunyan statue or something, but one of its arms was missing. Some of the towns we went through, like Cannon and Skowhegan, Farmington, Rumford, and Bethel, we saw houses that were attached to barns. And we later learned that because it gets so cold in the winters in Maine, that that's one way to be able to, I guess, go out and feed your animals, also heat the barn, keep the animals alive. We did find that odd, though, that in the South you won't find barns attached to houses. As a matter of fact, my mom would always say, "Were you raised in a barn?" Well, if your barn's attached to a house, I guess you could say kind of. It's still beautiful. New Hampshire, we went through the White Mountains, Gorham, Randolph. In Lancaster, we stopped at Christie's Maple Farm. And that was kind of our first taste. We had stopped at some antique stores and some small towns and shopping on the way. But Christie's Farm was really kind of the first touristy place, or a place where we got to taste some maple syrup and started thinking and getting really excited about getting to Vermont. So we crossed over into Vermont and stopped in St. Johnsbury, which is where the Maple Grove Farm of Vermont is. And a couple of things. This is where they have the museum that tells you about maple syrup. It's also, they make dressings, and they made Janet's favorite salad dressing, but then they discontinued it. And they have all kinds of treats and various tourist type items there. So it was really cool. Again, building on the excitement of getting to Vermont. We still hadn't seen a covered bridge, but we're still looking. And now, once we got into Stowe, I have to say that we stayed at the Green Hills Grill. I'm not the Green Hills Grill. I'm sorry. I would like to stay at a grill. We stayed at the Green Mountain Inn. The Green Mountain Inn in Stowe, Vermont really made me feel, and Janet as well, like this is Vermont. This is what we were looking for. I mean, the inn was just gorgeous, and it's old, and Stowe is just a beautiful little downtown. The streets are lined with gorgeous houses, and they have shops with various crafts and art pieces from local artists, and the inn itself was quaint. It had like a winding staircase, and there's hardwood floors, and there's canopy beds, and they even have a restaurant, the Whip, down in the basement of it, and just a really, really great place. It was exactly what we thought Vermont would be in our wildest dreams. We'd planned on going over to Burlington, but since we only stayed one night, we shopped in Stowe, we went to the several stores, and we got to poke around, and went down to Waterbury. Now, we stopped at this antique store across the street from Ben & Jerry's. And I thought it was an interesting thing, technology-wise, on this trip. We used our iPhone to map things, and we also used it to check out various ratings from folks. Like, one of the things we wanted to do was stop at Ben & Jerry's, and we thought, well, that is so cool. And then we look on Yelp, Y-E-L-P, it's on an app on my iPhone, and all of the reviews said, of course, you know, I love Ben & Jerry's ice cream, but the tour isn't really much. It's like 30 minutes, it costs $3. When people give you a good review or a bad review, or even a mediocre review, you can make a really great decision and feel okay about it. So we didn't stop at the Ben & Jerry's tour, but we did eat some Ben & Jerry's ice cream because we do love it. So, but after that, we went on out and we cut over to Montpelier. I thought the most fascinating thing about Montpelier was you get off the interstate and it's like to the Capitol building, it's less than a couple miles. You just get off the interstate, there's no traffic, you go right downtown and you're at the capital of Vermont. It's like every other state we've been in, to go to the capital is a real pain in the rear. It's tough to get to. So we loved that. And we stopped downtown, we ate lunch there. A friend had recommended J. Morgan Steakhouse, and it was great for lunch. We headed out of Montpelier and we stopped at a roadside in Keachie. I think that's how you pronounce it, Keachie. But there's this big shopping center. There's a toy museum. They had the Vermont cheddar cheese for sale. There's the toy museum. I thought was pretty cool. It's upstairs. It's free. After that, I really wanted to go to the Vermont Country Store. We were going to go to the old location, the original location, but instead we stopped at the one in Rockingham. The Vermont Country Store was a lot of fun. I enjoyed it. Had a covered bridge, and we bought some stuff there, some trinkets, some posts. Oh, the lady there gave me a postcard because I was looking around for something to say that I'd been to the Vermont Country Store, but she said they didn't have a lot of apparel with that kind of stuff on it, but she did have a postcard, and she gave it to me, so that was very nice of her. After that, we headed out of New England, and we got stuck in traffic in Connecticut. We finally made it over to the Poconos to stay. We were just going to stay the night, and the next day we're going on to Hershey, Pennsylvania, Gettysburg, and Harper's Ferry before we go home. Just places to stop on the way. And then we're going home. So we'll see you in Hershey. We get these ideas about things like New England and thought everyone was, had buckets of money, I guess, carrying it around. It was more Larry, Daryl, and Daryl than it was Bob Newhart.